How are we going, everybody? I'm just patting Vader here because he just loves tickles. Sit here all day doing that. Doesn't matter what happens in the world, he'll just be happy as long as I'm tickling him like that. Is that right? Go. That's it. At least he's still got the fighting power in him. Settle down. Anyway, topic today is compost, because I've been doing some composting and cleaning up the tomatoes. As I said to you yesterday, when I built the frame, I've tied them all up. I've actually gone with the soft tie, and silly me showed you yesterday the jute tie, which is the natural twine. That is actually a little bit abrasive for the tomatoes, so I've changed it all. So if you're going out there to use the jute tie, try and get yourself some soft tie. It's a lot safer. It's a lot gentle on the tomato stem, especially as it's growing, because it's all new stem. It's all soft and succulent. Now, I've gone around and composted all the tomatoes, meaning I've topped them up with that compost that I was delivered a few weeks ago. The product itself, I'm testing out with my tomatoes. I've potted up some small ones, but I'm also using it in the raised bed and in these planters here. Well, the pot itself has got a hole in it, so what I'm doing is building up the soil or the composting environment around the trunk itself so it can actually grow more roots, and that gives the plant more, a better vigorous growth on it and strength on it to be able to keep all the flowers. And have a look at them all, just loaded. Now, there are tomatoes down below, they're green, you can't see them easily, but look at all the tops. Every single one has got a cluster or two of tomatoes. Pretty vigorous this year, these ones. Now, not only that, I want to go through all the composted areas. Now, I've done the little tomatoes that got beaten by the hailstones. Come over here, this little bed here. This is just a little nursing coma that I have of plants that have come back to life. This one got beaten by the hailstones. Look at the damage. This is a few days afterwards. Now you can actually see it. See the markings on it? That's just been beaten to death. Here, look at it, it's taken chunks out of the sides. Anyway, these are recovering, they'll come good, but what I've done is also helped them along with a bit of extra compost. Now, this stuff here, I haven't used it before, and folks, I'm doing the trials on it because we discussed the opportunity of being able to supply this to everybody, and I'm having a look at it. It's just like, look at it, it just breaks away beautifully. Now, what I love about this is I left it outside, and this was the initial trial that I did before I started using it in the large bed, which I'll show in a second. I left it out there from the day it was delivered till today, literally when you're watching this, to let it sit there in the hot baking sun in all weather conditions, rain, wind, hot, cold, and to see if it becomes hydrophobic. And if you were to compare garden soil you buy from your local garden supplies, with all due respect, they do a great job. Most times that stuff there becomes hydrophobic itself. So I'm comparing that to a typical compost or garden mix that you get from your local supplies, because this stuff is different. It's gone through all the elements for a few, well, it's at least a couple of weeks. At least, I think, I can't remember exactly when I first got it. And now all I've done here, I've just lifted up the plastic and moved it in, so I've disturbed it. But on top, it's crusty dry, okay? We've got large bits in here too. That's fine, because that breaks away beautifully. It should. There we are. Look at that. Okay, now my point here is that you leave any sort of soil out in the hot baking sun or any sort of medium, after a while it becomes hydrophobic. It does shut down and locks out the moisture while it's dehydrated completely. So when it comes to hydration, rather than absorbing it immediately, it starts to beat on the surface. So you'll take at least 3 or 4 goes in hydrating that surface and breaking that water tension. And doing that is fine, but the concern you'll have is that long term, does it actually penetrate deep enough if it's susceptible to becoming hydrophobic? This stuff here, okay, thanks. Is that Vader? That's Vader. He's just casted a shadow over the top. Mate, you want to move for a second? You want to move? Here. Yeah, you're going to move. All right. So I know that the shadows of the sun are very low, so very long, I should say. So when I wet this, it should absorb almost immediately. Gone. See that? I'll do it on the side here. A little bit of runoff, but nowhere near. There's no beating of water, really. You don't see it beating up. Anywhere where it's got a chance to absorb in, it's fine. That's great. That's gravity, and you've got a slope on the side there, and that's what happens with water. It runs off. Let's hydrate one of these balls here, or the lumps. I'll go one more time. All right, let's see how much it's absorbed. Well, I broke that away already. Just barely got through the surface, but it's holding the water. Let's just go again. In actual fact, let's hydrate as if we're watering a plant, okay? I'd normally go once, twice, maybe 3 times. So I did the first one real quick. Second one, this is the third. All right. One would think that water's gone through, right? It's gone through the surface. Digging in slowly. Not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, considering I only put about 200, 300 mils of water each time, it's not a lot of water, and it has to absorb it. Sorry about the shadows. Let me go again. Is that going to soak in? Because that's compacted underneath. Right, it's going. Yep. It's good stuff, folks. Considering, in all seriousness, that it's been sitting out in the full blazing sun. Yeah, look, that's just breaking away beautifully. It works a treat. So it stood up to the test of the weather, exposed, that is, the weathering conditions. Now, if you compare that to the soil that I dug out of the bed there, which is our natural ground soil that we have, that there was basically dust, and every time I hydrated it, it just would not penetrate. It would sit there and bead up, and it'll have a covering of silt over the top of the pool of water that was there. Whereas this, you can see immediately it's absorbing it. So far, thumbs up on that one there. This bed here I've let sit for a while since I took out everything that was in here besides obviously the chicory. Now that's basically stock feed, folks. I initially planted it for the family, but I obviously planted too much, and in hindsight I should have grouped them up in one corner there so they're not spread out through the whole area. But nevertheless, what I've done here now is use the compost, but I've also top dressed it with our cocoa pith. Now this is mixed, well actually it's not mixed, that's cocoa pith on top, and just below it I only put about, I reckon after hydrating it's sitting about 2 centimetres, 3 centimetres thick, and right underneath it is the compost. And there's, well, where is it? There's compost, and then there's mulch underneath there too. Well, in this corner is, because that's built over. But here, I won't disturb it. I've actually planted, now it's very, very late in the season, and I'm only doing it as a trial, some zucchini plants, or seeds, that is. I've got Lebanese and blackjack across here, and 2 or 3 on that side there as well. So that's all I'm planting in this bed. But over here, what I've done, because of the hailstones destroyed the tomatoes, I've replaced them and planted cucumber seeds. Now, my darling better half said to me before, where's the cucumbers? I said, yeah, I've got about 4 or 5 plants in the other little private garden. She's only 4 or 5 plants. Now, her late father would plant at least 50 cucumber plants. And if he only got 1 cucumber off each plant, that's 50 cucumbers. Packet of seeds, or 2 packets of seeds it was. So I've gone and done the same thing, but I haven't given a lot of space. I've actually planted 4 seeds in each little pocket there. Now, I'm doing this as a no-dig garden, folks. I'm layering it on top each time. So that's what I've done over there. I had the soil underneath there. I took all the soil out. I'm sorry, the plants out that had finished. I just slightly scratched the surface of the soil to break up the crust on it, because it was really crusty. There was no mulch left. And all I've done is added compost. I've added my black grit, and then I added cocoa coir on top as the blanket, not mulch yet. I want the actual plants to germinate and push through the mulch, because the problem you have with mulch, if you're sowing seeds in there, it struggles at times to get through. And sometimes the seed doesn't ever germinate properly because it ends up being too deep. So put your cocoa coir on top, plant your seed, let it germinate, and then add your coarse mulch on top of that, which will hold its moisture. Let's have a look. I haven't watered, and literally I haven't watered for 2 days out here. Only some pots I have. Let's have a look at this. So that's the blanket of mulch on top. It's dry. That's moist. Look at that. 2 days after, or 3 days after the storm, that was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, more. So there you go, mulch does work. And I've done the same thing here. So rather than digging it all out, I just moved the mulch aside, and I actually added a mixture of compost and coconut coir together, and then planted the seeds straight into there, and then from there they'll go straight down below. And every season when it finishes, we'll just top it up again. Coconut coir is only available in our small blocks at the moment, and we're looking at getting it in the loose form like this, already expanded for you. So we've got access to it, we've just got to work out the logistics of that, but stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you're looking to prepare yourself for autumn winter planting, folks, the online team have reduced our hothouse range and packs. That's basically a warehouse clearance of all our hothouse packs. Check it out, heavily reduced in price, so we can clear them and make room for a new season of great products. VasilisGarden.com. From me, Vasily Marisi.